Dave Tosch, Executive Director, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center. Today I'm with Dr. Steve Kaster. He's been a long-term board member with the Senior Center. In fact, I think you arrived on the board about the same time I became the Executive Director. We've been working on this now for, well, we're going on 8 years. And I've always really appreciated Dr. Kaster's advice and counsel on a number of different areas, as it relates to the Senior Center. Right now, this is a prime opportunity, though, to find out what he really does, because he's been heavily involved with this whole COVID-19 issue with regard to the vaccinations and all that. And he's going to talk to that. But his title is the Medical Director for the Research Department under Confluence Health. And he's been a busy man. So tell us a little bit about the process so far, and maybe get us a little bit of up-to-date news.
Well, basically, we've been involved in the development of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. And our role has been in the larger phase 3 study, and that's the study that recently led yesterday to approval by the FDA and their vaccine advisory group for emergency use authorization. And the Pfizer vaccine, first studies got started in the spring. And that was the phase 1 study that was first in human, a small number of people in it. And that was done on the East Coast, and that was done in Germany. And we learned a lot from that study before going into the larger trial. And what we learned from a safety standpoint was that most of the side effects that were reported were the same kind of side effects that you will frequently see with other vaccines. So things like pain at the injection site was very common. Headaches, muscle aches, and fatigue were not uncommon. And there weren't really any serious adverse events that came about from that. And then from an effectiveness standpoint or efficacy, we learned that people, by measuring the antibodies in their blood, we learned that people made a very good immune response, and not only with antibodies, but with white blood cell activation as well. And in fact, those protective levels were noted at higher levels than even those that had been infected naturally with the COVID virus.
So this has been a long time in process.
Yes.
And I know that there's a lot of information that's starting to be passed around, I suppose, from people that may not be in the know. Should we be concerned about any of this in terms of the vaccine being something new, and you've gone through all the testing, so I guess you're pretty comfortable with what we've got so far?
Well, I think I can answer that question by going further and giving you more information on the large phase 3 study that's been done globally, and that's the study that we're participating here at Confluence Health. And we have about 170 subjects enrolled in that study. But globally, this is a big phase 3 study, so there's over 40,000 people enrolled. And that's where this data has come from that led to the emergency use authorization. And so we learned, again, from a safety standpoint, pretty similar to the phase 1, with symptoms like injection site pain, muscle aches, headache, fatigue, and most of those were all ranked mild to moderate. There were some severe, and most would come on about the same evening or the day after of the injection, and then abate pretty quickly within a day or two in general. And then from an effectiveness standpoint, we don't know the data as far as the antibodies levels, but what we're really measuring and monitoring on the study, who gets COVID and who doesn't. And the way we track that is every patient that comes in, every subject, that from day 1 they're given an electronic diary on their phone. And if they do have COVID symptoms, They enter it in the diary, we call them. And that's how we track who gets COVID and who doesn't. And so far, the last interim analysis showed 170 subjects globally who have acquired COVID on the study. And of those 170, 162 were placebo, and 8 were given active vaccine. And again, there have not been any significant serious adverse events or patterns that have been of concern. But it's still early. And if you're asking me about my opinion so far, I would be very willing to have myself vaccinated. I would encourage my family members to get vaccinated with the information that we have so far on this study.
So as we speak today, we're in the second week of December. There's a strong likelihood that there could be some vaccinations next week, mid-December. And I think people are pretty, well, I don't know that we're all excited about it, but I think that people are starting to kind of look to the future and say, hey, there's something on the way that's going to get this thing turned around. And could you just maybe give us some advice on, I think most of the CDC and the others are basically saying that it's going to be next summer before we're able to really get our arms around this and get it turned around. But what should people really focus on during this next 6 months in terms of, do we let our guard down, or how do we approach all this?
I think that they should focus on not losing their focus and continuing to do the best we can at masking. And this is going to be still critical even once the vaccine gets underway. The masking, the distancing, the hand washing, the not going out unless you have to, things like that are going to be still supremely important because they work. So the vaccinations will probably occur in medical facilities. This isn't going to be something where they can just go out under a tent out in a parking lot, and it's going to have to be prioritized in terms of who's going to get that, and so all those details, I guess, are being worked out. Those are a work in progress. I think that initially here, vaccines will begin at Central Washington Hospital, but there will be opportunities for more the satellite areas to have availability too. It's going to be somewhat of things are going to get going quickly, but it's still going to be a gradual process because with the emergency use authorization, there's still going to be a demand that considerably surpasses the supply of vaccine. So it's somewhat triaged as to who is prioritized to get it first with a limited supply. And that is dictated by the CDC and their vaccine advisory group. They pass that on to the state departments of health. And then once it gets to the state, like for instance, Washington's Department of Health, they can either follow the guidelines or they can tweak it or do what they like. But so far, the first phase is referred to as phase 1A, and that will be the first phase. And so far, and this has not been entirely confirmed, but so far it's expected that the first to receive vaccine will be high-risk medical personnel, and that's more because of a multiplier effect. It'll help preserve the medical system because we're not good to anybody if we're not there. And then it will also apply to people that are living in long-term care facilities like nursing homes and assisted living, and the staff of those places as well.
Well, I did see a news article this morning that indicates that it's probably going to be June, July time period, maybe, is kind of the thought before we're able to get the bulk of the population inoculated. And I think obviously as we go through these next several months, you know, people are going to be kind of listening and watching for what the reactions are, if there are bad reactions to it and all that. But seems to me that the only way we're going to get back to normal is to get this thing distributed and get people inoculated, and then we can move on.
And hopefully there will be more vaccines. The Moderna mRNA vaccine is just probably a week away from also getting emergency use authorization. And then you've got the big other players like AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson that are working on vaccines that are different from Pfizer's and Moderna's in its platform. So hopefully, to really serve the global needs, the more that are out there, the better. So.
Well, Dr. Steve, I appreciate you being able to spend a few minutes with us today. I know you're a busy guy, and we do appreciate it, though. Getting the right information from a source that's been directly involved with this whole process. And so, I want to thank you for spending time with us today.
Happy to do it.